Hello and welcome everybody, it's Karen. I've got a really easy waterfall card to share with you today. Now you can use any stamp set you've got, but I'm doing this video for WHIMSY stamps and I'm using their Sheepish Moment stamp set and their mix and match scallops die set. I've taken the smallest of the scallops and the smallest rectangle, and I just found scraps of card in my stash, and I've used the scallop for the colored cardstock and the small rectangle for the white scraps of card. Now I stamped and colored up all my images, and I've stamped that little "You Are Super" sentiment onto this red and white flap. It's going to be this rectangle. So I'm just going around gluing all my images onto each of these little rectangle flaps. I had to do a little surgery on this guy and move the balloon down a bit. But here is the mechanism. Now this is super easy, guys. I have a piece of 3" by 11" cardstock, and it's about 110-pound cardstock. You definitely want this to be fairly sturdy. Now on the 3" side, I'm going to score it at 3/4 of an inch in from both edges. So at the 3/4 inch mark and the 2¼ inch mark. And I scored that all the way up and down. Most of that ends up being a cut line, but you'll see. Now I'm rotating it, and I'm going to score 3/4 of an inch down just to that first score line. You don't want to cross it. Now if you have your scoreboard marked, you could just skip the middle part and finish off, but I just rotate mine. So at 10¼ inches, I'm scoring down just again to that first score line. So it should look like this, and those are going to end up being the tabs at the top there on the top left and right. Now I'm putting this into my scoreboard with those tabs to the left, and I'm scoring it at 2 inches, 2½ inches, 3 inches, every ½ inch basically, so 3½ inches, 4 inches, and 4½ inches. Now this is going to give me 5 sections to attach those colored flaps that I was just creating. If you had more flaps, you could add a ½ inch in and score one more ½ inch mark. So the parts on the right and the left are scrap. We're just going to cut that off, which is what I'm doing here. Just save those 2 tabs at the very top. So there is a bit of excess on this 11" wide piece, so if you did have a 6th image that you wanted to put in, you could do that. I mean, I've done some of these where I'm spelling out words, so maybe there's an extra one that you need, but just think of adding a ½ inch to the length. So you should end up with this sort of T-shaped piece of cardstock. And all of these fold lines are going to be folded in the same direction. They're all mountain folds, so I'm just folding them down and burnishing them all. You really want to work these folds, I find. So you can see here, once I've got them folded, I'm just really making them bend and move, because that's what they're going to do when you pull them through as the waterfall slider. So just really pressing and reinforcing each of those folds. And now if I fold it over from the last fold over, those 2 tabs will now fold over to the back. And this is how it's going to look when you attach this down. So you're going to be able to pull that through the 2 tabs. So that little ½ inch section on each of these is all that those colored flaps or rectangles are going to attach to. So I've got my first one. I've only glued the first, ¼ inch to ½ inch on that blue rectangle, and I'm sticking it down to the very first rectangular section on that flip slider. I put a little too much glue at the top and the bottom, so I'm taking that off, and I'm going to make sure I've gotten rid of the stickiness with my anti-static powder bag. But it's glued on, and now the next one, I've got glue on the bottom left of that one, and I'm just attaching it to the next rectangular strip to the left and making sure that it lines up top and bottom with the one underneath, with the blue rectangle underneath. So that's all there is. You just keep adding these on. Now if you are worried about the order, if you were spelling a word or something, just keep in mind which way these will go. The ones closest to the tab will be on the bottom, and this one is going to be on the top of mine. So once those are glued down, now you can see to the right I've got a bit of excess card, and I did that because I wasn't entirely sure how much I was going to need for the pull sign, and just in case people wanted to add another rectangle in. But if I pull this all the way out, all that space in there is where you can put a message or you can stamp some more images. So I'm just using a pencil to mark where that is, the start and the end of the flap. And so on mine I'm putting my sentiment in there. So I've got this Fun with Words 1 die set, and I've just die cut the word happy and colored it with Copic markers. And then I've taken that Happy Birthday to You sentiment from the Sheepish Moments stamp set and stamped that underneath. So I'm just gluing this down. Now you'll see I glued this on. Now die cuts add a little bit of bulk, so I was finding when I did this it sort of caught just a little. It could still move, but it was bothering me, so I'm just using my bone folder to really burnish this and press it down into the paper a little bit more. And then I stamped on the party hat and colored that in. Now you can see I've written the word pull just on the other side of that pencil line and added an arrow. So if you have a stamp you could do that, of course. I just wrote mine down. But now I know I can trim above that pull sign, and that's actually the pull tab. So you want to leave enough space for your thumb to grab onto it, and I've corner rounded the edges. So here's my card front. I've just used that same mix and match scallops die, the largest one, to cut the violet or the lilac colored cardstock and the white. Now these two tabs, I've got them folded to the back and I'm adding glue. This is the only thing that holds this waterfall down to the card. So I put quite a bit of glue on this, and I really let this set up before I start playing with it, which is a bit of a challenge, but I think it's best to really let this glue set. So I'm going to hold those tabs over in position, and I line this up so that it's just slightly to the right, so that that pull tab is a little bit over the edge, just so you've got it there to grasp onto. So I'm just centering this in the middle. I honestly thought I didn't need anything more on this card because this whole mechanism is the card. So I didn't stamp anything else. You could, of course, but I chose not to. But you can see I'm really letting that glue set up and holding that press close. So all I've done is added a few of those little pearls, and then this is the card. It is so much fun. When you pull it out, your sentiment comes out to the right, but you flip through all of those little rectangular sections. Now I noticed that this one wasn't opening quite enough, so I just fold it back and press it, just so the paper learns to open up a little bit better. So I hope that's given you guys some ideas. Use any stamp set for this. I've done other ones where I've had die cut images and I've put them on. Thanks for stopping by, everybody. I hope you're having a great day, and I hope you'll come back for the next video.